this was the PDF with the design challenge. This is a really good slide. So one thing that I would have added here. Hello, I am Dan, a senior product designer, and in this video we'll go through the design challenge solution I had for when I was applying to H&M and got an offer. So I'll go through each slide in the presentation and what worked and what I would do differently. So some context first. After I had passed the portfolio presentation, then I got the invitation to the design challenge. So I got the problem sent to me in a PDF, and I had 3 days to come up with a solution and a presentation, and then having the interview where I presented my work. So I did get advice from the designers that I should focus more on the UX and not on making any kind of polished UI, and focus on the reasoning and rather do wireframes. So this was the PDF with the design challenge, and I don't think that they run this design challenge anymore. This was back in 2020. So if you're applying to H&M, don't expect this design challenge, but this was what I got. So I was introduced to the shopping mode. So these are actually not personas, rather kind of the mindset you have depending on where you are in your shopping journey. So maybe you're just browsing, you're killing time, you want to buy something but don't know what, or maybe you've already decided what you want to buy and you're just going to the store online or physical and you just want to find the thing and then check out. So those were actually the modes I was asked to design for: the browser and the decided. So the assignment was basically this. So designing the start page, product listing page, and product detail page for this store where you could shop all the H&M brands, which is kind of funny because that is what H&M did later in a year or two, where now you can actually buy all of their brands and lots of other brands from their website. H&M brands include And Other Stories, COS, Monkey, Weekday, H&M Home, and Arket. Well, my approach to this challenge was to do a lot of research because I wanted to come up with something innovative. So I read their yearly report. So I looked through the books Atomic Habit and Actionable Gamification to try to come up with something like really based on psychology. And I spent way too much reading all of that stuff. I should have instead thought about the problem. I did get the offer, but I don't think it helped me to read that much. I think I should have just skimmed through all of that and then focused on the presentation and the problem. However, I think one thing that was good was the focus on the motivation. So the bad thing was that I did not have time to really flesh out my presentation. So there are a lot of slides where it's just, 1 or 2 words, and then I would have to speak on that slide instead of having something visual, like having pictures, or break up the slide, having more points to talk about. So don't do that. So definitely spend more time on thinking about the problem and then the actual presentation, because that is what they're going to see. So then on March 16, I had the presentation. And one thing I remember was that there were lots of people, a lot more than I expected. I only expected like 2 people, but there were like 6 people there. So I got nervous. I was like, what the hell is going on? But it was fine in the end. So you might notice that actually I designed my slides similar to the PDF that I got that presented the challenge. I thought that was a nice touch. It was also nice because it was very simple to just make the slides, no fancy design. The first real slide was about me, and I guess I just talked about myself because I don't have any kind of any slides to flesh it out, no pictures about me working in Hong Kong, working at a startup. That's a bit of a shame, but I deprioritized that, which I think makes sense. So I just could get the actual solution onto the presentation. And then I would talk about my process in solving this. I mentioned kind of the things that I said in this video so far. Nothing too special, and no slide to visualize what I'm talking about. Same with research. I mentioned the books. And here I think this part is good because I start to talk about my reasoning and bring up some desktop research that I've done. So I bring up something from the Nielsen Norman group about how browsers usually behave and what they need. That was really good. I would say that there's too much text on this. I could have broken it up, make it visual, maybe show like how does it look like when something is new, popular, on sale on sites, or suggested products, top selling, etc. That would be a lot more interesting. And I'm gonna say this stuff anyway. And then same thing here. What do people expect from product pages? I could have shown this visually instead of listing it. And but I think it was good that I did this research because that really backed up my reasoning in the end. And then I defined what we're going to do. Don't remember what I actually said here. I should have had more slides. And then I made an assumption on the business model, which I think it was good to have it because then that showed that I do think about the business side. I'm trying to see how, as a designer, we can make the business money because that is why they hire us in the end. The only thing I mentioned here, I don't have any slides. That would have been good. So I think the idea was that this business model makes sense because you can sell more products if you have a bigger variety, and that would attract more people. So maybe one customer is interested in costs, but then they see other stuff from Monkey or Arget, and then they would buy those products. So that would be easier and maybe make them buy more stuff rather than the alternative, which would be for them to go to the individual sites. So the main idea I was assuming was that you could sell more by having it all in one place, kind of like Amazon. You're a marketplace. Another thing that would be good for the consumer was that you could save on delivery costs. So let's say you do like buying from all of these brands, instead of buying them individually from each store and potentially paying for the delivery fee, you could buy all of them at this store that has all of the brands, and then you'd more easily reach the threshold for free shipping, and then you'd save on the shipping cost. So that was some of the things that I talked about. It was not mentioned in the feedback that I talked about this, but I think this was a good way to show that I was business-minded. I don't remember at all what I said about the user assumptions. I wish I had more slides. Here I just reframed the problem. How might we increase lifetime value from the browser by helping them decide what to buy without negatively impacting UX for the decided? So those were the two modes I talked about before. And then here I'm breaking down the challenge into smaller parts, which I think is good, but it doesn't really come together in the rest of the presentation. So I wished I had done that. Also, this slide is not that nice looking. I wish I had broken it down in another way, presented it in a nicer way. And here I have the map, super basic design. I think it's a bit difficult to know what to focus on. So I wish I had broken this down into several slides, but here, I guess high level, showing what the journey looks like. This was inspired by Sprint, how they do the sprint. They do the map and it kind of looks like this. And then here I just had the map for the decided as well. And again, it wasn't focused on the decided. It was focused on the browser. It just couldn't negatively affect the decided. And then I get into the ideation, the solutions. And here I talked a bit about the fog behavior model, which they actually really liked. They specifically mentioned this model, I guess, because it felt like I had a structured way of thinking how to motivate people or influence people. So that was actually pretty good. And then I get into each how might we, which I think was pretty nice because I go into like inspiration. So the question was, how might we increase the purchase frequency? And then I have these apps as an inspiration for how we might get people into the app, like what would make it interesting, like how can we make them want to come back to the app, how might we want them to spend time there, so that could be a way for us to increase their shopping frequency. And then I had this. So this was inspired by actionable gamification. These are the different categories that they have in that book. This is way too much text. I think I just wanted to show the work I did, but I just glossed over this. I think I didn't have time either to go through this. And then I did similarly for this, how might we, some inspiration about how recommendations show you what you might like. Same thing here, actionable gamification stuff. And then here, just what searching could look like. Same thing, actionable gamification. Not very interesting slide. How might we decrease shopping cart abandonment rate? This was about how can we make people take action? How can we make them feel safe or confident that this is a good deal, which is what the Airbnb Plus is kind of doing. Actionable gamification. This is a really good slide. So this was a great idea, kind of summarizing what I learned from that exploration. I mean, basically what I did was the lightning demo from Sprint. I think I was inspired. I think I read Sprint at this time, so I was inspired by how they did stuff in that. So this was good. Would be nice if I had some visuals to kind of connect these insights to the actual idea. And then I showed some sketches. Good to see them. Bit difficult to see what's going on though, but I don't think this is something that I should spend too much time on. It was just for me to kind of get my ideas out there and see what works and what doesn't work. I have no idea what I said here. I guess I decided what kind of ideas worked and what didn't work. I don't really remember. And then we get to the prototype, which I think was just wireframe, so it's not an actual interactable prototype. Here you finally see the screens. And here are some of the things that I've been talking about. So you have the gallery, which makes it easy to check out the product. You have the suggestions in For You to make it more personalized, more likely to buy something. You have these kind of pills to show you additional information about the product to make you more likely to convert. And then I also added these on sale, trending new, because that is something browsers usually like to see. And then here, this was just the product detail page. And this slide, I would redo it. It's a bit confusing, but this is the whole screen. And then here I show the top part, and here I show the bottom part. I think that could be clearer. Nothing special here, actually. So I wish I did something more cool, something that showed my creativity. So this was actually a good idea where I go through the journey for the browser and talk about how they would use this. Here I would talk about how the different decisions I made contribute to helping the browser in their goal. So for example, here they're planning to buy something. The recommended products are there by default, but they decided to search for something. Then they just click the search bar and then they click on pants. Maybe that could be one of the recommendations. I didn't show that here. And then you would see similar kind of structure, but now you see the pants, but you see the ones that are recommended for you based on your previous purchases or what you've browsed before. So they browse through these search results and then they find something that they like. And then they check that it's okay, that is a good rating, they see it's a bestseller, and then they make a purchase. So one thing that I would have added here was how they kind of narrow down from several options to one option. So I think I could have added that they would save lots of different products on this page, because when I was working at H&M, I just kept hearing customers just doing that all the time as their process. So they would save products that kind of pass their initial criteria, and then they would go to their wish list, or they would add it to cart, and then they would go through the cart and or the wish list, and then remove things, for example, until they hit a certain budget or the amount of items they want to buy. That is how they would filter through it, but that's not here at all. but that is what I would add, which I didn't know about that at this point, but I would have added that if I would do this again. And then same thing here. This is for the decided, the other mode. I just say that, okay, they search for the same thing, confirm that it's correct, and then make the purchase. Actually, this looks exactly the same as the other one. I don't know why. Maybe I ran out of time and I just put them on the same journey, or at least the same screens, and then maybe I tweaked my story. I would probably do the search journey for the decided because they know what they're looking for. But for the browser, I mean, I would have shown them going, as I mentioned, going through several products and getting inspired by the feed. I think this was mostly lack of time, which is kind of funny because this is very easy to make for me now. So it's fun to see that I've grown. And then I think I just talked about some other ideas I had about this. And that's pretty much it. Super simple, nothing fancy. I think if I saw someone doing this, I think I would think that, okay, they kind of know what they're doing. It's not very polished, but they have potential, which I think they saw, and which is why I got the offer. So I was kind of doing the right thing. I was focusing on the rationale. I had a process of getting inspired from other solutions and then bringing it in. And then I did kind of ground it by using the journey. But I could work a lot more on my presentation skills. But there you have it. So that was the design challenge I did at H&M that landed me my job at H&M. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to see what my portfolio looked like when I applied to H&M, you can click here. If you want to see a day in the life of a UX designer at H&M, you can click here. Hejdå!